The movie tells the story of a vegetarian girl who is introverted and very shy named Rose. She works as an assistant to a fashion designer named Gunter, who is very idealistic and famously strict. Chelsea is Rose's best friend, who also works at the same company as a model. Here, Chelsea secretly tries to help Rose, who is very introverted, to experience happiness. She sets her up with a man named Brad, who also works there as a photographer. Chelsea asks Brad to take Rose on a date to a party at a nightclub. Rose, who also likes Brad, finally agrees to his invitation. When they arrive, Rose meets Brad, who looks different, wearing a beautiful dress. Rose feels shy when she meets Brad. Brad, knowing that the boss Gunter is also there, invites Rose to greet him. However, Rose refuses because the dress she is wearing is her boss's property, so she is embarrassed to greet him. A moment later, while Rose is in the restroom, she accidentally overhears two female models who also work at the same place talking about her and laughing at her. Through their conversation, they reveal that Brad doesn't really like her. He asked Rose out because of Chelsea's request. Knowing this, Rose, who feels humiliated, becomes very angry and disappointed with Chelsea. She leaves the club with a heavy heart. Because of her chaotic feelings while riding her motorbike, Rose gets into a serious accident. She is hit by a car and has to be rushed to the hospital. When she wakes up from her coma after a week, Rose asks the doctor to see her injured face, but when she sees it, Rose is shocked and cries, seeing her face damaged to the point it looks like a monster. Here, Rose has severe damage to her jaw and mouth, making it impossible for her to speak or eat normally. The doctor who treats her says that for the time being, she must wear a wire in her mouth to support her jaw. However, the bad news is that Rose's face cannot be repaired due to the severe damage. Chelsea, as her best friend and someone considered a sister, feels very guilty and tries to comfort Rose, inviting her to stay at her house. Until one day, in a state of despair, Rose receives an email containing a video about a medical project called transhumanism, initiated by Dr. Burroughs, a surgeon conducting advanced experiments claimed to reconstruct faces with a 100% recovery rate. Rose, who has lost hope of healing, has no other choice. Together with Chelsea, she visits the clinic and is warmly welcomed by the doctor. This project needs volunteers to be used as test subjects, and the costs are covered by donors. Initially afraid, Rose is assured that the treatment is safe. The treatment began with inserting a kind of gel into Rose's severely damaged face and other parts of her body. The gel is a type of stem cell that will work to form new cells that can restore Rose's face to its original state. After a few days, Rose, curious about the results, went to the mirror and slowly began to remove the bandages from her face. Miraculously, Rose's face, which was once damaged, was restored to its original state, even more beautiful. However, that night, Rose had a strange dream where she approached someone at a swimming pool, who was also a patient at the clinic. Suddenly, Rose kissed and bit the man's tongue until it bled. After this dream, Rose informed her doctor. The doctor explained that it was a common hallucination effect during the recovery period. The doctor gave Rose a bottle containing nutritional drinks and some medications to take when she felt something strange in her body or had another nightmare. Rose was eventually allowed to go home with her new, more beautiful appearance and a new, more confident personality. She didn't even need to wear her glasses anymore. Chelsea, who picked her up, was surprised by her friend's new appearance. Then they went home together. In the following days, a satisfied Rose tried to develop her creativity by designing some clothes. Shortly after, Brad came over to apologize for the previous incident. But Rose, still looking upset, told Brad to leave her house. That night, Chelsea took Rose back to a club with her new, more beautiful appearance. When they entered the club, they accidentally met their boss. The boss, shocked by Rose's new look, asked her to work at the company again. Inside, they had a great time, mingling with some men in the club. After dancing for a while, Rose took one of the men to a corner, but another bad thing happened. Rose, who initially was kissing, suddenly tore the man's stomach apart and woke up, as if it was another nightmare. Since the surgery at the facial reconstruction clinic, Rose often felt an insatiable hunger. Rose began drinking her nutritional drink to reduce her hunger, but even after drinking, she still felt hungry until she saw some meat in the fridge. Rose then took the meat, but a shocking incident occurred. Rose was very attracted to the blood on the meat and tried to drink it voraciously. Without realizing it, the experimental procedure she underwent made Rose a carrier of a new mutated rabies virus. All the nightmares Rose had been experiencing were real, where when she felt hungry, she would kill someone to take and drink their blood. Worse yet, people who have been bitten by Rose automatically become infected, including the man she met at the clinic. Those who are infected become mad and aggressive, biting other humans with foaming mouths and experiencing severe physical changes, making them look like zombies. A few days later, Rose returns to work where she shows some of her latest fashion designs to her boss. Despite looking very horrifying, her boss likes the overall concept. Brad, still trying to get close to Rose, invites her to have a meal together as an apology. This time, Rose accepts Brad's invitation for lunch. When they arrive, they eat together while chatting, and suddenly Rose feels something strange in her mouth. When she checks, she is shocked to see a fang-like tooth growing in her mouth. Knowing this, Rose tries to contact her doctor again, but there is no answer at all. So far, Rose has not realized what is happening to her. Even when she is hungry and preys on others, she thinks it is just a hallucination. Back at work, Rose is working on a fashion design project being reviewed by her boss with very satisfactory results. In fact, her boss says that she might have her own brand someday. Meanwhile, the model used for Rose's outfits is her own friend, Chelsea, who will be the closing act at the fashion show. The fashion show begins with the boss being interviewed about the fashion designs related to the current fashion trend. Rose, already at the location, looks for her friend Chelsea everywhere, but she hasn't arrived. Shortly after, Chelsea finally arrives with a disheveled appearance. She tells Rose that there was chaos on the street, and she was even bitten on her wrist, which means she will be infected too. Then Rose gets a call from her doctor saying she must come to the clinic immediately. However, because Rose is at an important event, she decides to go the next day. The fashion show starts smoothly as usual until something strange happens to the male model who behaves oddly. During the grand finale, where Chelsea is supposed to be the closing act, she comes out as usual but with a strange look on her face. Chelsea shows signs of infection, and chaos ensues. Chelsea, already infected, tries to bite people, and she is eventually shot by security. Rose, still stressed, is persuaded by Brad to leave the place, and with great effort, Rose agrees to leave. Rose immediately goes to the clinic. Upon arrival, she tells the doctor everything that has happened. They are taken into a room for further treatment, but instead of being treated, Rose and Brad are trapped in an isolation room. The doctor knew this would happen, implying his experiment has failed yet again. Inside the room, there is a horrifying monster, none other than Dr. Burrow's wife, who also experienced a failed experiment during cancer treatment. Trapped inside, they are helpless until Brad is doused with blood to lure the monster out of Rose's body. Unable to control herself, Rose ends up killing Brad due to the monster's bite. Realizing this, Rose cuts off the tendril to save Brad, but it is too late. Brad has already been killed. Feeling angry and emotional, Rose stabs the doctor's wife to death and then slits her own throat, intending to end everything. Seeing this, the doctor screams hysterically because his experimental asset has committed suicide. But in the final scene, it turns out Rose cannot die, and she will be immortal with the monster residing in her body, and the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.